Hi, I'm Star Jones. Over the last 25 years, I've had the privilege of interviewing and highlighting some truly interesting people. Everyone who is anyone, both the famous and the infamous, from presidents and their first ladies to kings and queens, movie stars and pop stars, captains of industry, heads of state, sports personalities, innovative entrepreneurs, and some pretty fascinating everyday people. Today, I'm proud to introduce you to Debra Bartz, who is an airline pilot and the owner of Learn, Conquer, Soar Coaching. Debra, how are you today?
Good. How are you, Star? I appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. There's nothing I like better than interviewing a fascinating and interesting woman with a point of view that I think you know that's sort of my reputation.
I've read about you, yes, and it's been
Yeah,
good.
you think so? Okay, so Deborah, let's get started. Tell me a little bit about your professional beginnings and what led you to pursue your career.
Well, I pursued my career since I was 10 years old. I wanted to be an airline pilot, and also I needed to have some paths to get there. So I just went through all of my schooling and applied for the Air Force Academy and became the third class of women to graduate from there. And in 1982, and then went off into the military, Air Force, and became aircraft commander, KC-135s. Did that for 15 of my 20 years. And then what my passion started happening was when I started talking to young adults about their career paths and about mentoring. And I started doing a lot of that, and then I would talk to them about Air Force Academy and ROTC scholarships and whatnot. But I've always had that interest in at age 30, I went into the airlines. But what happened is that I thought it was really important to stay on track, that I needed to actually develop myself more. So besides getting a bachelor's degree and I got a master's degree, I just wanted to do more in society and to have more of a community. But I didn't sense that as a community when I was a child. And so I had to do all this learning about how it was to relate in the world. Because of a lot of my trauma that I had in my background, lower middle class, grew up in Chicago, and just didn't have any direction from parents that were always working, and so I didn't feel like I was privileged or any of that stuff. I just ended up, just on I felt like I was on a chaotic path until I came down and said, I want to fly airplanes. And all of a sudden, everything just like, I got a focus, and I just kept going towards my goal.
First of all, thank you for your service on behalf of a grateful nation, and especially the women of our country, so that we have someone who we know stand on the wall for us and protect our rights and freedoms. So we are very grateful for your service, and even more grateful for your mentoring and you using your service as a way to fulfill your purpose. Because I hear purpose in what you're describing to me.
And it's also courage to get out there, because I know that we have our weaknesses, that the thing that always pulled me towards doing something was to actually overcoming that weakness that I felt in myself, because if I didn't do that, I would actually hide my gifts from the world.
Yes, indeed. And what you've done is you've taken that purpose, that courage, that steadfastness, and actually created a business around it. So let's talk about your business. Can you give us a brief introduction to it?
Yes. What I do is I assist my clients to make sense of the details of their life. So what I mean by that is that they actually have so many issues that are related to nutrition that they come to me for, because so many individuals, when they go out of a doctor's office and they get a diagnosis, and then all of a sudden they go from doctor to doctor and they never get a actual answer to anything. But the answer is inside them. So they have their own prescription. So all you're going to do is you don't have to live your diagnosis.
Ah.
So that's the thing, is that even if you get diagnosed, that's a label. And I am against labels. So what I do is that I actually now, I help them to increase their knowing of themselves and their perception of reality and how they relate to the world and also to themselves. And so I ask them to be courageous and to actually look at all those things during our coaching.
I'm curious, how did you get started in this area? I guess I should say, what's the big break that led you to work in this field?
Well, I had my own health challenges from the trauma I had as a child. It took 50 years for it to actually say my body was tired of it. And on a cellular level, my body had, my immune system was not the greatest. And also I didn't know all the stuff I know today, 10 years later, that finally I came down with a really severe skin issue and went to like 7 different doctors. And I asked each one of them, why do I have this? And not one of them said, all they did was shrug their shoulders or said, I don't know. And so I went for my own answers. They never sent me to nutritionists. They never sent me to anywhere. So I went off to school. And I went off to school for the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. That was a year of school. And that was just the start of it. And then I just kept going to school and do, had my clients and would help them learn. And they ended up, their whole essence had changed, and because they got educated. So about how their body works.
That's so very interesting. What you're describing is being in a constant state of learning. Continuing education, I think, is so very important as we grow in our own knowledge and just being intellectually curious about the things that are around us and the things that are inside of us. As I was reading your bio, I read that you believe in the concept of healing modalities, and you've actually been trained in some of the healing modalities and how they work. Can you explain that to us?
Yeah, transformational energy healing is one of my latest because I really feel that it's really important to know what your personality type is. Because we have multiple layers of our personality. So as you really listen to individuals, a lot of people stay up in their head. So this transformational energy healing, what it does is that I'm able to see the nonverbal and the verbal aspect of it, because I can sense when somebody is in distress. And through my training that I've had, that I'm able to distinguish what they're saying to what they're actually feeling in the nonverbals that they have. I can tell if their voice is like up here, versus coming from the diaphragm. I can tell by just certain physical movements. Sometimes when they cross their arms like this, they get closed off. So what I do is I help to regulate their autonomic nervous system with the parasympathetic and the sympathetic, because the fight or flight for the sympathetic and the parasympathetic is where you're supposed to, it's more of a calm thing. 80% of the time we should be in that state. So that's one of the modalities. I also do the beamer therapy. It's a frequency machine. And I'm one of the, practitioners that are out there that doesn't, it helps you to enhance your blood flow down to your microcirculation and through frequencies. And it communicates with your cells. And then I also am part of like acupressure and tapping and all those different modalities. But the one that I really, really enjoy is to get down to a level of people to actually figure out what happened in their childhood that they have not resolved, and the familial habit patterns. So because that's what coaching is. We actually reframe habits.
What, in your opinion, is the role of so-called alternative medicine in today's world?
Well, I don't think that they're doing enough to addressing the mind, body, and the spirit integration. because there's not enough time for the individual, first of all, because why are people, just lacking time? It's because they're doing too much.
Right.
Or is it because they have all these voices in their heads going on? And I ask them, whose voice are you listening to right now? Because especially if they're doing the shoulds in the woods and all those kind of words. So I listen to those words and more intently, and then I repeat back some of the things that they have said to me, and they look at me and said, "You're really listening to me."
Yes, indeed.
Yes, and I think if we would listen more and to nonverbals and not only words, I think that we would be less mad at each other in the world and angry. And so once I, get to them that way, they can actually find out that they can reframe their limiting beliefs and to actually bring their best self into the world.
So give me a couple of the lessons that if I were a client of Learn, Conquer, Soar coaching, what would be one of the lessons that you'd want me to try to learn, conquer, and soar?
Okay. The lessons that I have learned and that I've been able to convey to other individuals is it's within our power to change our stories of our past and to rewrite the future and even the present. And once we do that, all of a sudden, all of those past things that you've integrated in your mind, I've studied a lot about this, about the brain, that we sleep so that we can actually file things in our brain. But what happens is that are we refiling that brain, that memory in the right category? Or is it someone else's that has come from somewhere else that you are actually put in the brain? And then what happens is then it gets mixed up with all the other little things. So if you can actually reframe in the present moment so that the future is brighter for you, and to then lessen the filing that you have in your brain, it will reframe that in your brain.
As you so eloquently put it, it is very important for us to, one, live in the present, but not be confined by what has happened in the past. Right. You can control your own destiny. So see, I've already learned some of the lessons of Learn, Conquer, and Soar. Thank you very much. Yeah. I'm just curious, Debra, what is the reach of the company presently? Are you local, national, international? Tell me where you want to go.
Well, so far I've been local and national. So I have just started a new thing and I just really love it. I'm actually extending my skill set to the 10 to 24-year-olds. I just moved up. I'm moving up to South, just a little bit north of Ashland, Oregon. A lot of good things happen up there. But there's also some situations that are not so good. So I'm going to belong to the Rogue Valley mentoring for 10 to 24-year-olds of disadvantaged youth and who are having issues with meth and some opioid addictions, traumatic backgrounds in their homes. So I'm going on that route. I've just applied. I'm going to go through some of their training. I'm always training. Yes. And so I find that I have healthy boundaries. I find that people that don't have very healthy boundaries are the ones who get themselves in a lot of trouble. And children are at risk. And so I feel like that my background with the military and with doing my own business, that I never thought I was going to do my own business. And then all of a sudden it just popped up in my mind that I can do this. And I know that if I can be an example for those kids and children and young adults, I would be so satisfied, and it'll be additional healing for myself.
I was paying attention to the various things that are going on in your background and in your future plans. And so I'm curious, what do you think is your greatest strength in this particular area of work, and what sets you apart from others in the field?
Well, I feel it's my persistence for my continuous education, and also my courage to not freeze in my tracks by actually taking a step forward and putting action to actually, solving whatever it is that I would be, possibly frozen.
What is the one thing that you would like viewers of this interview to walk away with, so that we get a little bit of nugget of what Learn, Conquer, and Soar is teaching?
What I am teaching is nutrition, and also, knowing yourself, and to so you learn about yourself, you conquer whatever the fears are that are actually stopping you in your tracks. And then the soaring part is what happens when you have your energy level up so high that you are in the heavens. So that's what I feel is what people should take away.
Debra, I mean, that is such a wonderful, motivating message for everyone right now. Keep learning, conquer whatever your fears are, and then that will give you your ability to soar. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you again for just bringing such an interesting conversation to the Star Treatment.